What's up, everybody? How is it going? I have to apologize because this is a trick week because there is a guest on this week, but I did not record my individual podcast, so I apologize. I was very busy, so I'm saying hello here, and I'll say hello to you in a video form next week. Okay. I almost said my condolences. I don't know why nobody died. I mean your video died. I mean, ooh, that was a lot of slobber. There you go. Oh my goodness. See, I just give you all the details so you know what's going on over here. So my apologies. I will check back in with you next week. But this guest, blah 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 blah. The guest this week, he will not. I repeat, he will not. Let me say this again until I remember the word. There we go. He will not disappoint. See, all the techniques I use over here to trick you. My guest this week will not disappoint. He's a good buddy of mine. He's a fellow comedian. His name is Chase McPhie. You can follow him on Instagram at Clan McPhie. CLAA. Okay, let me start over. Oh, goodness. CLANMCPHIE86, Clan McPhie 86, and he's got his so that one's like more family oriented stuff, and he's got like a comedy page too. It's an Instagram. It's called comedic_Chase. Now, this episode is interesting because Chase lives in the area, but his schedule is very tight. We go over it on the podcast, but we had to cut it short. So we will have a part 2, hopefully in person episode, and you guys will find out when that happens, okay? But for the time being, this is a Zoom episode, and please enjoy my good buddy Chase. He's a funny dude. He killed it at the show we talk about. Freaking spectacular. All right? So, without further ado, please welcome Chase McPhie. And, by the way, before I introduce Chase, if you want to support this podcast, and if you would like to do stand-up comedy and gain the confidence to be on stage that translates into your personal life, because you're going to be so pumped, you go to Linktree/Khalu2, okay? linktr.ee/KHALU2. If you're watching the video, it's right there in front of you. And you click on this, the stand-up course for beginners. If you would like to do that, you support the podcast, you learn to do stand-up comedy, which is public speaking, and you have a great time. You gain the confidence, and you can do it in little quick spurts. Each video is about roughly 5 minutes. Some of them are a little longer, but no video is over 10 minutes. And so you watch one video a day, and then you do a little exercise, and it's boom, that's it. That's all you do. That's all you do, and you learn how to do stand-up comedy. Of course, you have to go do it, okay? But anyway, that's for you to go over with the course. So without further ado, oh my goodness, it's been a long week, people. I tell you what, but we're here, we're having fun. Without further ado, my buddy Chase McPhie. Please welcome Chase to the show. Bye. All right. So everybody, this is Chase McPhie. Hey Chase, how's it going, dude?
Good. How are you, Hal?
Dude, I'm doing fantastic, man. I'm glad to finally have you. So for everybody that doesn't know, Chase and I live very far away. It's like probably like 15 minutes away. But dude, your schedule is so tight that like I'm thankful that you actually like fit a time in to be able to do this, dude. So thanks for coming on.
Oh, I'm happy. I'm sorry it took so long. Everything kind of kept changing. And then the one day I had nothing going, I just spaced it and I went to the mountains instead.
Dude, the mountains here is so beautiful though, so I can't really fault you for it, you know?
I had the whole lake to myself, so it was pretty nice.
Oh, nice, dude. That's awesome, man. So were you with your kids and stuff?
No, dude, this was just me. Like with kids and everything and work, like I just needed a me day. So I scheduled this, or Wednesday morning I woke up at like 6:30 and I was just out the door.
Oh wow, dude, that's pretty cool. So like you got to like be in by yourself and just like just be like, ah, fuck everything else. I'm done.
Pretty much. Well, anytime there's a show coming up like the one we have tonight, I try and just get out of my own way and kind of get out in the middle of nowhere, whether it's the desert or whatever, and just kind of go clear my head and kind of think about exactly what I want to do and how I want to approach it. So
Yeah,
there was several reasons that was like therapeutic, but also it's like prepping
preparation.
for tonight's show.
That's pretty good, dude. I like it. I like it. It's you need your alone time every once in a while, and the best place to do that is out in nature, right? So,
Yeah, for
all
sure,
right,
man.
yeah, all right, dude. So let's dive in. So, where did you grow up, man?
I grew up in Salt Lake City, so Utah, just about 300 miles north of here, and that's where I was born and raised, and that's where I called home for the better part of my life.
So, how uh how old were you when you first moved to where we're at right now?
So this is my second stint here, actually. So the first time I moved down here, it was right before I turned 22. I just gotten home from a LDS Mormon mission,
Mm-hmm.
and did not. I didn't want to go back into like my high school phase, I guess, because when you come home, everything's still just kind of the same. I don't know. I needed a change, and I came on a trip down here, and I grew up coming down here because my grandparents had a condo. So I decided I was just going to move down here without telling anyone. Didn't tell any of my friends. I told my parents, and like that was it. And then one day I just moved down here, and that was in 2008. And then I followed a girl back to Salt Lake in 2010, 2011 ish. That didn't work out. And then I always wanted to move back here. So I moved back here in 2016, right before I turned 30.
Oh
So
wow,
I've
dude. Okay.
been here ever since.
Okay. So growing up in Salt Lake, what was that like when you grew up? Was it already a big city, or was it starting to get bigger?
It was big to me. I mean, looking at it now, it's come a long ways from when I was a kid. But I mean, it was big to me. I I was a courier for my dad's company. So like when I got my driver's license when I was 16, I worked for him, and he's a book publisher. So I learned to drive through Salt Lake and kind of the state of Utah, different printing companies he would work with. So to me, it was a big city, but that's because I hadn't really ever been outside of the city. I mean, I've been to LA, I've been to Vegas, but just short 2-3 day stints.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize that those places are just big and crazy all the time. So in my mind, it was big. But now, like when we go back to visit, I was just up there a couple of weeks ago. It's much bigger than I remember it.
Okay. All right, man. So because I've only driven past Salt Lake, and it seemed like well, because I was in LA for a while, and when I drove past, I'm like, I mean, this is a nice place. Like nature is pretty much right there. Like in LA, you have to drive like 20-30 minutes just to be at some spot that's got like a good set of like a bunch of trees and like some mountains.
Yeah.
But there it's like you're just driving through the highway, and like everything's like I remember seeing like a huge waterfall. Like it was like, oh my God, this is beautiful. And it's right on the highway, like, and the city's like maybe 2 or 3
Yeah.
minutes away from that. So I'm like, oh wow, that's so you don't really have to go anywhere to actually be in nature.
Everything's pretty close there. I mean, I went golfing and sledding on the same day at one point.
Oh
I mean,
wow.
because the snow stays up high enough where you can go sledding, and then you come back and go like it. So the nature part's everywhere, and the city aspect is there too, and the city aspect is growing.
Mm.
But the one thing I'll give California, like LA, or I have family in San Diego, is I love the beach and I
Mhm.
love like the ocean air. And we have the Great Salt Lake, which produces some pretty gross air. I'm not gonna lie. So LA has its own nature beauty to itself, I guess
Yeah.
you could say,
Yeah.
with what it has there with the ocean. So
Yeah, dude, the ocean is one of the nice, like, it's one of the things I miss the most. Like, I'm
yeah.
gonna say I didn't go to the ocean that often though. Like, I would go
Mhm.
like maybe once or twice every 3 or 4 months. So, like,
Yeah.
I had like it was like an hour drive away, so it wasn't that bad. But I didn't prioritize it as much. So, what was it like? So how was high school for you? Did you have a good high school experience, or was that something that you
No,
no?
I hated high school, but there was a lot going on. For one thing, I wasn't a good student. I always kind of struggled, but like I don't know if high school gets kind of clicky. I never had like a group of people. I had my friends, but like I kind of had one or two friends from each thing, which is fine. But my mindset in high school was just kind of, I just wanted to be at home by myself for the most part. So I think I went to 3 high school dances and they were all like my senior year.
Oh
So like I
wow.
was, and so as far as high school, and then my mom died when I was in high school too. And that kind of introverted me a little bit
Hmm.
more, I would say,
Yeah.
just trying to process everything that. And so anytime one of my buddies, like I still talk to 3 or 4 people from high school, and they're like,
Hmm.
dude, wasn't high school the best? I'm like, no, I could not leave high school fast enough. And so high school wasn't great, but it's not because I was bullied or anything. I was too introverted to really enjoy it. If I
Mm,
could go back, I might enjoy it a little bit more, just
yeah.
different outlook on life now.
Yeah. Okay. So, do you have any siblings?
Yeah, so I grew up in the middle of 2 sisters. I have one older sister, one younger sister, and then my dad got remarried years ago. So I have a stepbrother now, but he's 10 years younger than me.
Okay. So, did you get along with your sisters?
Yeah, so I was kind of like the middleman where I had a pretty good relationship with both of them,
Hmm.
especially like my older sister and my younger sister. So even at times where they weren't getting along, I still got along with them, and
Hmm.
we had our arguments like every siblings does. But yeah, for the most part, through growing up, I was very close with my sisters, more
Yeah.
so than I am now.
Okay. So, did you guys like hang out, or you just like at home, just whenever you would just goof around?
We hung out. I mean, my older sister used to sneak me out of school to go take me to like a movie or something. I remember she
Hmm.
did that on a few times, or we'd sneak out and go hang out at night. Like me and my older sister, she's 3 years older than me, and so she like graduated high school as I was coming in, and so it was still kind of close enough to her generation.
Hmm.
She kind of knew what was fun things to do. And then my
Yeah.
younger sister, who's 8 years younger than
Okay.
me and her would go hang out all the time. She would come fishing with me, or I'd take her to Lagoon, which is the theme park up there. Or
Hmm.
we definitely both did stuff. I taught my little sister how to snowboard, and it was I so I mean we all I did separate things with both of them, but yeah, we hung out a lot.
Okay, that's pretty cool, man. Like it seems like your younger sister has more of an age gap between you and your older sister than like
Yeah.
because I'm like the youngest of four, and my
Okay.
oldest sister is 10 years older than I am. The second sister is 9 years older than I am, and my brother is 5 years older than I am. So
Okay.
in that scenario, it's like you're pretty much my older brother in some ways, kind of thing. In that.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, and so like my older sister, so she was 11 and I was 8, and we actually adopted my little sister. Now we knew
okay.
we were getting her 6 months before she was born.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I mean, an 8 year age gap or an 11-year age gap, that's a different, like she grew up in a different world than we
Yeah.
did. So there
Yeah.
definitely is the age gap. The joke that I used to say is that if I'm 8 and my older sister's 11 and they adopt the third one, my parents just did not like where their gene pool is headed. That's 19 combined years of, oh no, we're buying the third one.
Oh, that's awesome, dude. That's funny. Um, so you in high school, well, let's see, like you had a few buddies, but you said like you weren't like much of like socializing and things like that.
Yeah.
When did 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 you were you like a good student?
No, no. So it came down to like one math test at night school for me because I took a lot of night in summer school just because it's not that I wasn't a good student. Like I was smart and I could do the work. I had a problem just going to class. Like they did not monitor skipping school very
Hmm.
well at all. So like even my senior year of high school, I don't think I actually went to an entire day of high school.
Oh wow, dude.
So one day I'd like left to go to school, got into the school parking lot and just decided I can't do it today. And I drove to Wyoming, which is like Evanston, Wyoming, like 90 minutes away, bought a bunch of like illegal bottle rockets and stuff, and then just went home. Like that's how I spent my day. So it's not that I was like a bad kid. I had a hard time going to class.
You needed some what I don't know why I'm gonna ask this question because it seems like
Okay.
an easy, like an obvious answer, but I take it you weren't a disciplined kid.
Well, yeah, I mean, I wasn't running wild. I mean, I was pretty well behaved at home and in
Hmm.
the sense of not getting into trouble.
Yeah.
I needed some sort of outlet that wasn't controlled by an adult.
Yeah.
And at school and at home, I'm not going to get that. So my time was to go sneak off and instead of go to school, go to IHOP for 2 hours or whatever. And I could not for the life of me stick to going to school.
Dude, how do you get around? I'm guessing you just like a bike or something.
No, so I told you, so when I got my license, I worked for my dad, and
Mm-hmm.
part of that job was having access to my own vehicle, which was nice. So at first it was like a Toyota Corolla, like this 95, 96 Toyota Corolla, which was
Mm-hmm.
good on gas mileage. And then my senior year, we got like a Toyota Tacoma. So because the way I'd pay for the truck was by working for my dad. So if at any point after school or in the summertime, my dad'd say, "Hey, I need you to go do something," I had to go, no excuses. And so
Mm-hmm.
I had access to a vehicle, which was awesome, but really it didn't do me a lot of favors just because I took way too much advantage of it.
um, so did you go to college?
So I attended. So I that's what initially brought me to St. George's to go to what was called Dixie at the time, and
Mm-hmm.
I actually did really well for the first two
Really?
years I was down there. Like the lowest grade I ever got was a B plus. Like
Oh
all of a
wow.
sudden,
Okay.
all of a sudden I was like dialed in and I enjoyed it. And the only thing that derailed me off of that was I focused too much on this girlfriend that I had. And so all of a sudden it was like, I'm not going to go to school. I'm going to go make out with her for the day. And that's kind of what derailed me. So I never finished, but I put about 2 years in.
Okay. So it always never ends well. Like it never ends well when like you're gonna be like, oh, I'm just gonna put all my time into this girl, and she's just gonna suck my everything. um.
Dude, for real.
So you 2 years. So what was your major back then?
So the goal is communications
Mm-hmm.
and not and kind of heading towards radio
Mm-hmm.
broadcasting. Like I'm a big sports guy, and so sports radio was kind of the direction I was aiming.
Okay.
Um, and so I was taking a lot of like public speaking and communication courses and stuff, and I excelled at those. Those were a lot of fun.
Okay, that's pretty cool, man. So you're a big sports guy. Did you play a lot of sports growing up?
Only like city league. I was never on the high school team or anything, but I mean, I played baseball, I played football, I played basketball, and basketball is kind of where I focused a lot because I was too scared to, you know, get hit by a baseball, or I was too scared to get hit playing football. So basketball is
Yeah.
kind of my sport, but I can sit down and watch a full game of most any sport
Mm-hmm.
and be completely entertained.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So, are you like a big like Utah team follower, or do you have any other teams that you follow?
Yeah, I mean, University of Utah, as far as college games, I mean, I'm wearing the hat. So like the
Mm-hmm.
Utah Utes, that's what my dad grew up cheering for, and so that's why I cheer for. Which is funny because most all my other cousins and aunts and uncles are all straight BYU, which is the big
Okay.
rival.
Okay.
And I follow the Jazz, but like growing up, I used to love the New York Knicks,
Mm-hmm.
Patrick Ewing and all that. And I was a 49ers fan. My dad's a Broncos fan. Like none of us all cheer for the same NFL team. So it's kind of fun when we're together and just kind of give each other crap. But for the most part, as I get older, so like I'll cheer for the Utes and I'll cheer for the Jazz and all that. But mostly I get entertained by a good competitive game to watch.
Okay. Is there a Utah baseball team?
There's a minor league team. So the Angels, you lived in LA,
Yeah.
whatever there are now. They're AAA team. They're
Okay.
one step down. They're located in Salt Lake, the
Okay.
Salt Lake Bees.
What was it ever like a dream of yours to like be a an athlete or nah?
That was the goal. That was the plan until I was like 13. Like I was going to be Michael Jordan. And then you get to junior high and you realize, well, I'm no longer the tallest kid. I'm no longer the best basketball player. And mentally, I just kind of gave up on that hope about
Mm-hmm.
eighth grade. And I mean, you never say anything's impossible, but back then I wasn't willing to go to the camps and do all the weightlifting and stuff that it probably would have taken just to even play high school basketball. So
Yeah.
it kind of became a for fun thing for me at that point. And that's kind of when I was like, well, maybe I can get a job in sports, but not be doing the team.
Okay. Did
That
you
was the
ever?
goal.
Okay. Did you ever do radio?
No, I mean, I've done other podcasts and I did like sports podcasts. I interviewed with a couple radio stations and sent
Mm-hmm.
them some demos, but nothing really ever came of it. The few years ago, probably 2015, 16, I really kind of got an inside look into the radio world. And it's a dying breed. Podcasts are kind of taking over, and until you get up to like the Sirius XM kind of level, which is a rarity. I mean, again, anything's possible, and something might come of that someday. Because given an opportunity, I would still love a radio job. But it's I get to the point where now, I've got a wife and kids, and one on the way, where it's like, yeah, that's kind of on the back burner for now. I have a job to pay the bills, and it's kind of what it is.
Yeah. Because dude, like when I listen to your podcast every once in a while, and like you got a great voice. So like I could see like you growing up actually being on a radio show, because like you have a great voice, you're funny, especially it seems like you're very knowledgeable with sports. So you would have been a great radio broadcaster or something like that.
I appreciate it, man. I used to listen to the same guys every morning growing up in the Salt Lake market, and just kind of tried to emulate them. And then when I was taking the classes, they teach you about avoiding dead air. They teach you about, if you're interviewing someone or whatever, just keep the flow of everything going. And that was stuff that fascinated me, on how to have a conversation or how to have an interview with someone. Or if you're just going solo, how to tell a story and how to avoid the dead air points. And so it's something that I'm fascinated by.
Okay. So you were in college here in the southern Utah area. What how old were you when you went on your mission?
So I left right after I turned 19. So I left in October of 2005 and came home in October of 2007. So ages 19 to 21.
Oh wow, where did they send you?
New York City. They sent me to the Bronx and Harlem. So
well, I guess that was it a big culture shock? Like, cause
yeah. Well, I mean, I grew up in the suburb of Salt Lake, where there maybe were 3 black kids at my high school, maybe, and they were like from Africa. Like, it wasn't.
Oh wow.
Like,
Okay.
I mean, it was, and so all of a sudden I land in New York City, and it's a melting pot of the world. You got 5 million people right there in the city from everywhere, and so all of a sudden I'm a minority as a white guy for the first time. And so there was that aspect of it, but then you learn. I think the biggest thing I took away from it was people are just people. Like, what you see doesn't mean anything. Like, have a conversation with someone, and that's how you learn what they are. And so, not that I was ever prejudiced, but not being exposed to a lot of it, you probably have some accidental prejudice or stereotypical thoughts, and that all got washed away while I was out there, to where it's like, okay, a human is a human, and that's probably what I took away the most from it.
Yeah. So being in New York, where it's pretty much the comedy capital of the world, if you want,
you could argue that.
You could argue that, right? Did you ever do any stand-up over there?
Never got so I didn't get into stand-up. I didn't attempt to stand up till I was 26, 27 was the first time.
Okay. I was 26 when I did it the first time. Yeah.
I mean, and I grew up listening, watching Letterman or whatever, and watching Seinfeld, but I didn't really grasp what stand-up was till like the summer before I left on my mission. I watched the Blue Collar Comedy Tour, and Ron White made me laugh really hard. And I was like, what is this whole thing where he just goes on stage, tells stories, and people laugh? And so that's where I kind of started to appreciate it, but to actually get it in my mindset that I would actually ever do it didn't come till, I'd been home for 5 or 6 years.
Okay. So you're in New York, and I always ask people that went on missions, because like, was it really strict, and then they had you like on a tight schedule, or did you have a little bit of leeway?
Well, so your leader's the mission president, the kind of guy who oversees your area. It kind of depends on him. And I had 2 kind of split. Like, I had 1 year with one, and then they switched them and had 1 year. So I started with someone very strict, where it was like, I mean, the schedule for most any missionary is pretty strict, where you get up at 6:30, you do your stuff, you work out, you're out the door at 10 o'clock and going to go proselyte till 9. Like, that's essentially, in a nutshell, every missionary sticks to that. But as far as actual mission rules, so like the first mission president I had, we couldn't say I mean, he was so strict to where we couldn't say like the swear word substitutes, like heck, darn, gosh, shoot.
Really?
Those were as bad as
Wow.
swear words to him.
Oh
So,
wow. So what did
and
you say?
he just kind of grunt. He just, one missionary he just to be, he was, I always said he should do stand up because he was funny. If he would like stub his toe, he would just like scream George Lucas's name. And I don't know why it was so funny. So, I mean, that was, but I mean, as strict as he was, everyone loved him and respected him, that like, it wasn't a big deal to be that strict. And we weren't allowed to talk about how long we'd been out. If someone said, hey, how long have you been out? How far along are you in your 2 years? We couldn't give an answer. We just say about a year. Didn't matter if you'd been there for 2 weeks or almost done. That's
Oh
like the
wow.
answer. He didn't want people focused on going home. So that's why he did it.
Okay.
The next guy came in and he was just like, use your best judgment, which was good at the time, but I probably needed the discipline of someone strict before I was given the ropes
freedom?
loosened a little bit. Yeah.
Okay.
So it was perfect for what I needed at the time.
Does that happen often, or is that like a separate case?
So they rotate mission presidents out like every 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, I've heard of ones that were even more strict than my first one. And I've heard other ones who are like, yeah, go ahead, go to a movie if you want. Like, when my dad went on his mission, man, 1979, going back, his mission president took them all to see like Jaws and Star Wars.
Oh, wow.
And stuff.
Okay.
And so it really is just kind of dependent on whoever they send there. And it seems to work out for the most part, how the timing all works.
Okay. Overall, did you have a great time in New York?
Yeah, I did. I don't know if I could ever live there again, not as a missionary. I get overwhelmed by big crowds and big cities. So, I mean, I've been back to visit, and even that was for like 3 days, and then I had to get out. Like St. George is about the biggest town I would want to live in. I have no problem visiting places, but my overall experience for those 2 years was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool. So you spent 2 years in New York, right?
Yeah.
And then you went back to Salt Lake?
Went home to Salt Lake and lived in Salt Lake from like 2007, October of 07. And then I moved down the following summer in 2008 down here to go to school. Nothing against Salt Lake. It's just I needed a change of environment and this provided it.
Yeah. So did you specifically pick the college down here for that?
The college down here. So this is probably another reason why I never finished college is I didn't go to college for the sake of going to college. I came to college because it was like an excuse for me to move down here. Okay. Like back then I was in this mindset where if I did something, I had to explain it, where I don't owe anyone an explanation. I could have just moved down here anyway, but that was kind of my thinking is I'm going to go to St. George. And the reason why is I'm going to go to college. And so college was always kind of second.
Like the back burner. Okay.
Yeah.
Were you here by yourself, or did you know people when you moved here?
I didn't know a single person when I moved down here, which is probably the smartest thing I could have done. Because then, I mean, sometimes if you move into a new place and you know someone, you kind of lean on them as a crutch. I moved in with 3 roommates and didn't know any of them. And it kind of forced me to learn how to socialize and be myself, I guess. Because when I came down, it was like, okay, I'm just going to be myself. If someone likes me, great. If not, I don't care at this point. And that's probably the best lesson I learned, because that's where I met my best friend at this point, who's like a brother to me now. We didn't meet until we were, 22 years old. He did the same thing I did, where he just moved down here on a whim. And now me and him talk all the time.
Nice. Did you not get any semblance of like an experience like that when you went to New York, or
I did. I mean, I still talk to a lot of my mission buddies and I got that, but there's a difference between so when you're on an LDS mission, your entire life is focused on one thing. Like we're all there focused on, hey, we're going to go out and teach the gospel. We're going to go out and proselyte. Like we're all focused on the same thing. And then when you come back to the real world and you realize life isn't put on pause for you while you're gone, it's almost intimidating if someone's telling you a story from something that happened 3 months ago, and 3 months ago you were still a missionary. And so it's almost like starting at the bottom of the totem pole and you come home, because you almost feel like you're 2 years behind everyone else who stayed here. So I mean, in one aspect, yeah, I learned how to do that, but how to do that in like real life world, I struggled with that with some social anxieties. So moving down here without knowing anyone, kind of throwing myself in the deep end and sink or swim, so to say, is
Yeah,
probably the best thing I could have done.
that's awesome, dude. Yeah, well, I'm a pretty social guy, so but I know exactly what you mean though. Like because when I moved to LA, I didn't had no idea who anybody was. I didn't have any family or anything nearby, so I'm like starting over from scratch here. Like I had a group of friends back in Costa Rica and things like that. So like I had and my family is really big too. So like I had like two circles that I always relied on. And then when I moved to LA, it was like, woo, all right, get to work, buddy. If not, I'm just gonna be a
Yeah.
loner over here. It's not gonna be fun. Which I love being alone, but I also need to have the option of like, hey, I can hang out with people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Um, so you were in college for 2 years. How old were you when you like started dating the girl, the bad news girlfriend?
Oh man. So let's see. I had just turned 23 when I met her. And then we started officially dating like right before Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
And it went really well for like 3 months. And then it turned into this like on again, off again disaster game for like the next 2.5 years.
What
And
was
then go
no?
ahead.
Keep going.
No, you're fine. That's just that. I mean, that's essentially what it was. Is I joked about this the other night with you guys that I think we broke up like 15 different times in the span of 2 years.
Dude, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Was she originally from Salt Lake or
She was from like the Orem area, a town called Pleasant Grove.
okay?
And so she was, I mean, I was 20, I had just turned 23. She had just turned 19, which what 19-year-old knows exactly what they want
Mm-hmm.
out of life. And
Yeah.
me kind of living the Utah stereotypical mindset was, oh, we're in love. Let's get married right away. And
Mm-hmm.
just, I'm sure I was a little overbearing on my end, and
Mm-hmm.
then she was still trying to figure some things out. And it was a recipe for disaster.
So when you moved back to Salt Lake, what made you discover comedy? Like actually want to do it?
So while I was dating her, after I moved back to Salt Lake and stuff, I started watching a lot of Comedy Central, and I'd stay up late just to watch different stand-up specials.
Mm-hmm.
And uh, Daniel Tosh had a special on. It was one of his first ones that came out on Comedy Central, and it made me laugh, and it made me laugh hard. And I remember anytime I would like fight with her or have a bad day, I would just turn on and watch that. Completely Serious was the name of the special. I'd watch that special, and laughing kind of made me feel okay. And then what happened was my older cousin, decided he was going to go do an open mic, and it went well, and he ended up winning like a prize or something that night.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, if he did it, maybe I could attempt it. I mean, and again, so that was kind of like my introduction into, oh, maybe I could do this.
Does he still do stand up?
No, not that I know of. Me and him actually don't talk that much anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've talked to him in like 4 years. He did it like 2 or 3 times, and it was like 3 or 4 months apart when he did it.
Mm-hmm.
And then he was always so busy that I think it was more of like a once in a while kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing for him.
Yeah.
Where when I started, like I wanted to learn how to do it. And so but yeah, so I don't think he still does it. But I mean, he was funny. He probably could have done really well with it if it's something he was
Actually,
consistent at.
stuck with it. Yeah. But see that's what's funny, right? Like it's just not for some people, right? Yeah, that they could enjoy it but that's like, oh, I did it. I'm good. And then there's other people like you and I, like, oh, this is my thing. I like this. Let's keep doing it. Right.
Yeah.
So you said you were 26, 27-ish when you started, right?
Yeah. 2013 was the first open mic I did. So yeah, about 27.
Really?
26.
Okay.
Yeah.
I did my first open mic with 2013 too, dude. That's funny.
Yeah.
So around that time, did it stick with you like, oh, I want to do this more often, or was it like a slow burn?
It was a slow burn because the first time I got on stage, it was crickets, like not a single laugh. And it was maybe 2 or 3 weeks after I went and saw Daniel Tosh live. And so I go up there trying to be what I just saw. I'm trying to be the like crude shock value humor, and
Yeah.
that's not my personality.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went up and it was awful. So the first time I did it was in June of 13, and I don't think I had tried it again until April of 14. So I almost waited a whole year before I
Okay.
went back on it. And then kind of the same thing where I did really good the second time, did really good the third time, bombed the time after that, and then I waited like another year till 2015. And then 2015, I just decided I'm going every week, no matter what, 2 or 3
Mm-hmm.
times a week. Wherever there's a mic, I'll be there. If I bomb, I don't care. And that's when I started going 2 or 3, 4 times a week.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was kind of a slow burn to kind of really learn what my style was,
Mm-hmm.
as it takes anyone.
Yeah. So in total, how long have you been doing comedy?
So, I mean, by the time, if we're going to go from the first time I did it, 2013, we're coming up on 8 years, but from the time I consistently started going, probably about 5, 6 years.
Okay. Okay. And what when you started going consistent, were you writing a lot, or you just like said like I just gotta get up there?
I was mostly concerned with getting up there. I found a bit that I could kind of crutch to where I kind of got in this mode where I would try something new and then close with a bit, because
Mm-hmm.
it was only a 3-minute spot on the open mic that I was going to. So I would try something new and then close with what I knew worked, just to kind of hear the laughter to try and keep coming back. And then if I found something else that was new, like newer, that would work, then all of a sudden that was the thing I would start closing with. So I would try something new almost every time and then close with something that I felt would work. And so that's kind of how I built
Mm-hmm.
and kind of learned what was working for me.
Mm-hmm. And are there many open mics there? Because like the only comedy place I know of, and I know there's got to be many of them, but I only know the Wise Guys.
Yeah, there's so when I was up there between coffee shops and dive bars, there was
Mhm.
an open mic at least 4 times a week.
That's pretty solid.
I mean, there was a coffee shop that hosted one on Sunday. The University of Utah hosted one on Monday, and then there was also this dive bar called the Ice House, not like LA, but like
Mm-hmm.
house being spelled Hause or something like that.
Okay.
Tuesdays there was a coffee shop and another dive bar that did one, so you get 2 on Monday, 2 on Tuesday. Wednesdays was the big one at Wise Guys, and then I think Saturday there was another one at a dive bar somewhere. So there was plenty of opportunity for stage time between everything.
Yeah, dude, that's pretty solid, especially like the ones on the same day. It's always interesting. Like I remember the first time I did stand up, like 2 times in a row. It was like, whoa, this is so weird. Like I just killed with this one, and then I'm bombing with the exact same material. And it's like,
Yeah.
I don't know what happened. So you got that experience really early.
Yeah, so it was nice because especially like on Tuesday nights, we'd go to the Watchtower Cafe, which had one, and that one started at 7, and then the next one started at 9 o'clock, like across town. So like downtown's all like out to Sandy, which is like a 15-minute drive, and then you'd go do another set, and then that's where I'd kind of gather, okay, what am I going to do at the Wise Guys, the actual comedy club with an actual crowd, and so it was good prep on Tuesday for what you were trying to accomplish on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm. And what was it, an actual crowd, or was it just full of comedians?
Depended on the week, but most of the time there was at least a crowd of, there were crowds there sometimes as little as like 10 to 15 people and with 30 comedians going up.
Okay.
And then other times there would be, 30 comedians going up, but the crowd had 150 people in there.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so I kind of got the comedy club feel
Mm-hmm.
pretty early. I was kind of
Yeah.
spoiled with it in that sense.
What, where was your first open mic actually at?
It was at this place called Lumpy South. It's not even open anymore, but it was this like bar that had like a little back room with a stage. And I went up and it was just, what threw me off, one, I wasn't, I was trying to be Daniel Tosh, like I said, but the first time you go up there and that spotlight hits you and you can't see anything like past your toes, that threw me off. And all of a sudden, everything I had thought I'd memorized just out my head.
Went
It
away.
was gone. So
were you just like winging it then, or were
no,
you like...
I mean, at that point, yeah, so dude, here's how bad the jokes were. Do you remember that story in Ohio, like 2012, 13, where this guy had been keeping these ladies like locked in his basement for like 10 years? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
I was joking like about like comparing those girls to the tube socks I'd keep in my closet, essentially. Because I mean, it's a pretty sick and twisted joke, but like
Yeah.
that's what I started kind of. And then I was making some other joke about people giving standing ovations for paraplegics who
Yeah.
like they cannot stand and clap their hands, yet that's how we honor them. Like, I mean, it was some dark stuff to be starting out with,
Yeah.
and I mean, there's room for those kind of jokes in the comedy world, but I feel like you
Yeah.
kind of have to earn your place before you can just go that deep.
Yeah. But dude, those are great premises, though. I like them, man. I'm crying just by hearing the premise. I'm laughing so hard. Um, have you ever gone back to actually revisit those and like work them out a little bit, or?
Not those. I mean, they've never left my head, so they're still there.
Mhm.
And I'm not saying I'll never go back to visit those, but I just haven't found the home for them yet.
Yeah, I get you. I get you. Dude, that's. I only imagine you as like a huge drawer full of tube socks.
Yeah.
Oh man, dude, that's funny, man. Dude, like when I started, like my first open mic was at the Improv,
Okay.
and the Improv. I want to say it was all comedians, but I honestly don't know. But there was like 100 people there, and like you would see everybody waiting in line because like they'd have you like I don't remember. I think it started at like 6.
Uh-huh.
And if you got there at like 5, that was already like a big line, and it didn't matter. It was like they're not getting there an hour early didn't really matter because like what they would do is just like a bucket system. So there wasn't like a benefit to being there like an hour early because it's like it doesn't like I mean there were people getting like picked up because like they knew the host or whatever, but also at the
Yeah.
same time they just pick a name randomly out of a bucket, right? So
Right.
I did like a public speaking course, and after that, like I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do an actual open mic, and I did it, and it was like the worst. Like I was so nervous, dude. Like I had like 2 minutes because they were doing some
Yeah.
competition, so I only had 2 minutes, and I'm like, you've heard my jokes; they're all stories, right? So it's like, all right, I got 2 minutes to tell a story, and this is not like I saw the light at a minute, and I'm like, oh, thanks, that's me, bye bye. And the guy and
Yeah.
the host is like, dude, you didn't even finish your joke. I'm like, ooh, oh man, I
Yep.
gotta get better at this.
Those nerves get you, man, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, and then especially if you took a public speaking course, they probably talk to you that you only have like 8 seconds to make your impression to keep the
Mhm.
crowd's attention. And so
Yeah.
that was the other thing when I started out is I thought I had to be funny with the first sentence I said,
Mhm.
where that's not really the case, but you do have to be interesting right away to kind of
Yeah.
keep it. And that's something that took me a while to learn, but especially if you're so worried about 2 minutes and you've got to tell a story, all of a sudden you're trying to make it all fit and you're not even like present
Yeah.
in the moment. And that's,
Yeah.
that's never going to go well.
Yeah, dude. um, so how old were you when you moved back to St. George
It was
the
right
second
before I
time?
turned, it was right before I turned 30.
You turned. How long have you been doing stand up by then?
By then, about roughly 2 years, maybe
Okay.
about 2 years consistently.
And when you moved back down, was there any semblance of any comedy scene or?
Not really. I mean, they had shows at Tuacahn every now and then, but there were no open mics or anything
Mhm.
like that.
Yeah.
So I keep looking away. My kid might be waking up,
Yeah, don't worry,
and so
dude.
I might have to put it on a pause if I have to go help him.
N-
My wife's out of town today, so I'm just kind of like
You,
getting by.
you gotta
Anyway,
do what you gotta do, man.
for sure. But for the most part, there was not much down here, and I came down with the intention of trying to get stuff started. And not a lot of
Mhm.
places were interested in open mics, but then a dude in town named George Scott started hosting a monthly comedic relief night, and that kind of springboarded everything and kind of kept us going till we could get monthly shows going.
That's pretty cool. At least that was something. Were you disappointed that it was so hard, or were you just like expecting it?
No, I was expecting it. I knew there was nothing down here.
Mm.
I was expecting it, and at the time, because like when I moved down here, I met my wife, and a lot of my time was I was engaged and I was working through some other stuff, and so there wasn't
Mm.
like a lot of time for me to focus on it. And then after we got married is when it was like, okay, let's get in the hard work. Let's start really pushing for this, and that's what happened. So
I get you, man. So you're 30 some. Like, did you meet your wife in Salt Lake?
No, we met online. We are an online dating success story.
Really nice, dude. Where did you
So
guys meet?
LDS singles.
Nice,
So
nice, dude. That's funny. So you guys started the online dating. Like, did you guys like pretty much click right away, or was it
yeah, so on my profile, essentially it just said, I'm a Mormon, but I have a great sense of humor.
mhm.
That caught her attention. And then she messaged me and we talked every day since. So that was in February. I don't think we actually met in person until June.
Okay. Oh wow. So did you guys live in the same city at the time?
No, she was actually already living down here, and it was right before I was coming down to St. George that we started talking. So it just kind of happened to work out. She's originally from Pittsburgh.
Okay.
So, hey, buddy. Sorry.
No worries, dude.
I'm letting him out of the cage. So, and maybe this will have to be a two-parter where we finish it. But
Yeah, dude. All right. Let me
Sorry,
know when.
dude.
No worries, dude.
keep going. I'm just going to kind of follow him and keep asking. You can keep asking questions.
All right, dude. So you guys. So she's originally from Pittsburgh. So was she originally a Mormon, or did she convert?
Her family converted. Like her mom and her stepdad, converted. So half of her family's LDS and half of them are not.
Okay. And so are you two still like practicing Mormons, or is it not a?
Yeah, no, we're still very much practicing. Very loose senses of humor. We don't get offended at anything.
Yeah, I know, dude. Your sense of humor is great.
I mean, you can joke about almost anything, and we'll find a way to laugh at it.
Yeah, I just find that's the best way to live, right? Because like if you're finding a way to get offended about anything, it's like, well, you're not really happy if that's like your lifestyle, right? So
it's no way to live to get offended. So
yeah, dude, I want to let you like take care of your kid. So
yeah, you're fine. I'm sorry. Usually he sleeps a lot longer, and then today he didn't want to sleep at all. And
no
so
worries,
the fact
dude.
that he woke up after an hour or so. But I want to continue this conversation.
Yeah, like hopefully next time we can actually do it in person. So
yeah, let's do. My schedule will open up a little bit, not next week, but afterwards. So like in 2 weeks, so let's continue this.
Yeah, dude, let's do it. So. Sounds good, man. Thanks for coming on, dude. I really appreciate it.
Sorry for all the
don't worry. Don't worry about it, dude. I'll talk to you later, man. See you tonight.
See you, dude.
Bye. Oh my. Hi, I didn't see you there, but since I got you here, let me ask you a couple questions. Would you like to support this podcast? If that's a yes, then I have another question for you. Do you like stand-up comedy? Have you been thinking about it for a while? Why haven't you done it? Is it because of fear? Are you doubting yourself? Is that what it is? What if I told you that we can turn those fears into action and we can get some results, right? So, look, if you want to have fun, if you want to do stand-up comedy, if you just want to challenge yourself, if you're a business person, it's great to know how to speak in public because you have to do it constantly. And by doing stand-up comedy, you'll be doing it all the time, especially because it's a lot harder to make people laugh than it is to just talk in public. So, if you like doing that, and if you want to have fun, how about you go to the link that's below? It's right here. linktr.ee/khalu2. Linktree/Halu2. And if you go to that link, click on the stand-up comedy course for beginners, and you can buy that course over there, and we'll all have a grand old time. You have fun learning how to do stand-up. I have fun being with you. It's all fun and games over here. So what do you say? You want to join me? I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye. Well, hello there, my good friend. How are you? I hope you're doing swell on this fine day. There was one time where I enjoyed someone's video, and I didn't know how to get the next one. So I thought to myself, oh, what if I subscribe to their video? What a novel thought. If you enjoyed this video, would you please like it? Subscribe to the channel. That way, anytime a new video comes up, you'll get the next notification. You know when it comes up. It will be swell. And if you enjoyed it a lot, share it with your friends. That's all I'm saying. Only if you enjoyed it a lot. If you didn't enjoy it that much, just keep it to yourself, you know? Just keep it to yourself. All right. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.